Melody? Hey everyone. Hopefully y'all can hear me okay.
Hey Cheryl, I can hear you.
Great. I'll just give it about 1 minute or so while people are joining. I don't think I have to add everybody manually, so that's nice. Thanks everybody for coming tonight. We'll get started in just a moment here. We're gonna have a couple more people joining us.
Do you want to go over the comment section and how they can ask questions if they need to, Cheryl, or unmute themselves?
Yeah, that's great. Good idea. So yeah, before we get into the agenda, if you haven't been on a Zoom call before, you can actually, there's a comment button. If you hover over the bottom part of your screen, the icon called, you can click on the chat bar and you can type in a question or a comment. So, or you can unmute yourself and ask questions too. So there's about 5 of us tonight that are going to be presenting to you guys and unmuting and talking, and then towards the end we can leave some time for questions. So with that, let's get started. I think most of the people who are going to jump on are already on, but I just wanted to go over quickly what we'll be doing tonight, introduce myself, and we'll get right to it. So we thought it would be a fun thing to do to jump on and talk about homeschool life, since it's kind of a hot topic lately. And a couple of the moms in this group have been homeschooling for a while. Some are more newer to the homeschool experience, just coming from public school. So it's kind of a neat perspective there. And then a few of us are also, we've been participating in the distance learning that we've all kind of fallen into in recent months. So we're going to talk about tips and tricks there. But all throughout, we're going to be introducing the theme of how do we do all of this while running a business from home and earning an income at home, supplementing our income, replacing income, whatever that case may be. There's going to be varying levels of that, as you'll see tonight as well. So we wanted to kind of throw that theme in there as well. And then towards the end of it, Melody's actually going to go over the last 20 minutes or so, just a quick business overview of what it looks like to own your own business with Doterra. She's going to tell a little bit of her story, and yeah, it'll be a nice little preview that way. So with that, let's get started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Cheryl.
Sorry. Candace said a couple people are needing a password and couldn't get into the group. So I just wanted to see, was there any kind of password? And then if anybody knows of anyone that can't get in. Zoom's so weird these days. They either tell you do need one, you don't know. It's so confusing.
I know.
Let me see.
Ozzy is trying to get on with a few customers, and I just had a couple people message me.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Let me pull it up really quick. I have the app here.
Oh, my girl said she just got on.
Oh, perfect.
Password is 936542. I'll take it there.
Oh, you can type it in the chats?
936542. That's the password if you guys can see it. So if you have somebody that needs to jump on, you can text that to them.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm Cheryl. We're going to hear from Candace tonight, who's going to be talking about the kindergarten to first grade level. Melody, who has an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old, so you'll hear a little bit from her about those age levels. And then Beth has a little bit older kids in upper elementary. The distance learning section, I am going to be talking about the kindergarten level. And then Diane, who has 3 kiddos of her own, but she's also a middle school teacher who taught distance learning. So a really great perspective there. And then we'll go into the business overview. So with that, Candace, did you want to start us off with the homeschooling section?
Perfect. Okay, thanks, Cheryl. Okay, so I just want to start by saying this is my first year homeschooling. We started last year and we did kindergarten. So I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old that just turned 2. So we started kindergarten. And it was kind of crazy for us. We live in a 600 square foot apartment, 1 bedroom. So my style was very minimalist. We kept it as simple and easy as possible. That was kind of like the name of the game. So just for all those moms who might feel overwhelmed, if I can do this and that, you can definitely do this. So my favorite thing about doing homeschool last year was the freedom that it gave me and my family. We could literally kind of work school around anything that we did. So like we had a trip to Tennessee that we took, and I didn't have to like write a school note or have teachers like messaging me or all this work that was backed up. We literally could pack some things on the plane. We did school while we were there. We took educational trips. So my favorite thing 100% was the ease of creating our own schedule and just like having complete freedom over that. I had a great teacher. We did a charter school. So we did homeschool with a charter. We did Sage Oak. So we would meet with a teacher once a month, kind of make sure we were on track, and she would ask, Finn her basic understanding of certain things. And then we also partnered with a school called Jubilo. So for history and science, she would actually be in an in-person class. So I did some of her schooling, her dad did some of her schooling, and then a school did some of her schooling. Now I know with COVID that probably is not much of an option, but I don't know how things will work. I know some of the art schools were doing like outside beach stuff, which was amazing. But yeah, our schedule was kind of a little bit all over the place. I wish I could say every day looked exactly the same. We were like on it. That would kind of be a lie. But essentially we would wake up, I would have a coffee, I would check my business, my Doterra. They would have a little bit of screen time in the morning, or go outside and play. But if we weren't doing any screen time or anything like that, we would do PE, right? So that counted as PE. We'd go to the park, we would play, we'd ride scooters and bikes, and then we would come in and do about an hour of either math or reading or both. For kindergarten, like sitting at the table work, it was only about an hour to 2 hours a day. Other than that, it was very much, hands-on, going outside and finding things, counting as history, bugs, caterpillars, counting as science. A lot of fun things. I wanted to show you. Okay, so I brought these. I'm in the car because my kids are inside. But we did a lot of like fun play. A lot of kindergarten for us was like play. So Race to Planet X was a great math game. Sight word bingo for learning words. Monopoly counted as math. So we got very creative and just had a lot of fun. And that's kind of what our schedule looked like. And then our homeschooling day would be over, midday. And then the rest would just be like our normal day. I know that will change once you get into first grade. It'll be a little bit more technical, but kindergarten was like kind of optional. So we just really had fun and like learned what she liked. But now that we know going into first grade. And then how we worked Doterra into that was nap time. So while the toddler was napping, I would have her do like a silent reading, and then I would work on my business. She also still took a nap. So nap time was my business time, and Doterra was really the reason I was able to homeschool and stay home. And that was kind of my full-time job. So yeah, that's kind of it for kindergarten.
That's awesome. Thanks, Candace. Those are really great tips. So up next, you're going to have Melody talking about third grade, second grade.
Yeah, I started homeschooling in kinder. I sent my daughter to preschool for a year or two, and then we decided to start in kindergarten. So we've gone through, I've tried different things each year, and we sort of found a really good rhythm for our family. So I'll talk about my rhythm, but just like Candace said, it's really flexible. That's one of my absolute favorite things about homeschooling is I can make it be how I want it to be. Right now during school, summertime, we actually do school all throughout summer in a little bit so that I can have flexibility throughout the entire year. If I want to go on vacations or do a little less schoolwork one day or then the other, it's just, I love that flexibility. And if my kids are really into one thing, we do a ton of it one day and maybe less another day. So flexibility for me for sure. And I do love getting to be a part of their daily experiences. Now I like my alone time, my business time, my exercise time too. So I'll talk a little bit about that schedule. I'm definitely, not with I'm with them a lot, but I'm doing a lot of my own things as well. Now my kids are a little bit older, not super old, but 5 and 8. And I do feel like that is a bigger difference maybe than Candace's age, right? She did a lot of her business work during nap time. My kids don't nap anymore, but with my kids, we have friends over nonstop. So that's probably, I'll talk about that in a second, where we get a lot of my work time is my kids are all around, but they're playing with friends nonstop that homeschool with us, or friends in the neighborhood when they get off. And I literally can do my business from home whenever I want. But let's see, for my schedule wise, how we do it is we do a charter as well through Inspire. Now I know with Gavin Newsom, if you're in California, his new law, maybe a lot of you are having a hard time getting into a charter. You absolutely don't have to be in a charter. I would say the benefits are, of course, you do get money to spend. So we get about $2,600 per kid per year from the state to use towards what we want. And so most of my funds that we get from Inspire charter go towards a school here in Westminster called Doterra Arts. So my kids go 2 days a week, full days, 8:30 to 2:30. They go on Tuesdays and Fridays. My son last year, we found a little neighborhood school here in Costa Mesa called Camp Lila, which he absolutely loved. So he was going that. I didn't use my funds. I just personally paid for it. He went 1 day a week because he wasn't old enough to go to Doterra Arts. But my kids love that. Doterra Arts or other schools like that you might be able to find, like Candace did one for history and other subjects, that did everything from Spanish to writing to art to history to they're doing a play right now. So I love that they do get that interaction. We have no problem being social. My kids have to be around people all the time, even if we weren't in Doterra Arts, but Doterra Arts is a great opportunity for them to be taught by other people as well. Even before Doterra Arts, my kids were going to rock climbing classes, different art classes. Like we have a great place called Art Soul Collective in Newport Beach, and they have classes all throughout the day for homeschool hours. So you'll be surprised that there are a lot of resources and different activities that you can plug your kids into during the daytime. So for me, when my kids rock climb for 2 hours, I would bring my computer and do my business, right? So that was definitely ways that I could fit it in. And so Doterra Arts 2 days a week. On Mondays and Wednesdays, I actually would have a girl who helps me with my oil business as well. She packages for me and different things like that. And then she actually homeschooled her whole life. She goes to Vanguard University, and I have her come 2 to 3 days a week for 2 hours each. So each of my kids get an hour of one-on-one learning from her so that I can have a little bit of break. So I can feel like today, if I have a lot going on, sometimes with having my own business, one day I work a lot more, one day I don't work at all. And so it's more flexible. But with her coming, she does a straight one-on-one hour. And if you think about it, and Diane can put her input, when you're giving one-on-one attention to just one kid, that is a lot of schooling within that 1 hour that they can pack in. So we're not having to do it all day long. So they do math and reading. For us, we really like the curriculum, The Good and the Beautiful. I was going to bring out a couple, but The Good and the Beautiful, you can get like a math reading curriculum. It is like it has religious based part into it too, but not tons. It depends on what you want. But they also have like the human body, botany, history, all sorts of ones that you can buy. And then I just print at Kinko's and laminate them, and we have these different ones. But it's really easy for her to follow along, or me, or my mom comes 1 day a week to help us on Thursdays. So they just bust out math, reading, and like language arts. And I feel for me, when I was able to master reading and math, like I was like, I got this homeschooling thing, right? So I put a lot of effort into those, and those are always what I focused on first. And then we do nature and science and history and all that, but that comes later in the day. So we do about maybe like 2 hours in the morning. And then it's sort of like, oh, let's have our friends come over. Let's go on a nature hike. Let's go to the beach. And then they'll come back to our house and we'll watch a YouTube video on, seahorses, and then do a watercolor project and label it. And I was going to share my screen real quick and show you. Oh, I think the share screen might be disabled. But I'll show you if that works. I love this online one called Playful Learning. It has all of these these printables for you in all different age ranges on different topics. And it's so easy to just pick up and go. And I like the flexibility of homeschooling because I could say, oh my gosh, Blake, you're into doing gardening with me? Let's print all of these gardening, worksheets. And then we just go with that. So that's sort of our flexibility for our schedule. Like I said, 2 days a week, Doterra Arts. Monday, Wednesday, we we bang it out in the morning, and then we have time with friends, or we do classes like sewing classes, art classes, and things like that. And then my mom comes one day a week and she takes Blake and does homeschooling. And then I take my son, Donovan. I don't really homeschool both of them together on their main subjects. It was driving me bonkers. So I like separating the two. That's one of the reasons why I love, having Hannah. I love Hannah come in the morning and we bang it out. A couple other resources I like, and Cheryl's going to send a paper that has a lot of these, but for early readers, this is on Amazon. It's called See, Hear, Do, ABC. They have a whole series of these. These are great books for early reading. If you're into gardening and science, I just found this one. I put it in it again, Rutabaga, and it's all gardening science lessons all in one. She actually teaches classes to kids and then made this whole curriculum. Really once you go on Instagram and you start connecting with the homeschool world, you'll get tons of things. A lot of them are free printables, but like types of caves, you can really make anything a school lesson in these younger ages, and that's why I do really love it. And then one thing that I would say is collect your work, the work that you really like. One of the things that we do is we have a big binder, and then I collect and then add all of the artwork and the different work to it, so I can look back throughout the year and be like, oh my gosh, look at all the things we did. So I have that collected, and we keep those for, maybe we'll do 1 or 2 of those per year. But in a nutshell, that is how we've done it. We've tried out different curriculums. We supplement. I would say The Good and the Beautiful is is our favorite so far in a lot of ways, but I've tried Matthew C. We did Matthew C for a while. And yeah, I would say don't be afraid to ask for help. I would say that the community in homeschooling is really awesome. So if you could get plugged in with just a couple families, literally it only has to be like 2 families, that will make your homeschooling journey a million times better. For me and my friends, were like, oh, my kid's annoying me. Can I send them over to your house? And they're like, yeah, send them over. My kids are, bored. And then the next day she sends her kids over at my house, or I was working today because it's BOGO week in Doterra. So my friends literally took my kids down to the tide pools and they caught crabs with them, right, for 3 hours. And I didn't feel the pressure to need to go, because yesterday her kids were all at my house and I was watching them. So I like having that kind of community where we do a lot of swaps, and that's where I get a lot of breaks for my business too. And then my friends get breaks as well. Love getting out in nature with kids. That's one of my favorite things. So I work a lot in those breaks and pockets during the day. And then definitely at nighttime, I like working at night as well. So I would say that's one of my times where I can get in a decent amount of work if I'm concentrated on it. So yeah, those are in a nutshell what our schedule looks like.
Awesome. Thanks, Melody. Those are great. Beth, you were up next.
Hi, everyone. Okay, so my kids are a little older than everyone else's kids. So if you have older kids and they've been in public school, then you may relate to some of the stuff that I'm going to be sharing about. So my daughter Ruby is 11, and she's going into 6th grade. And so last year was our first year homeschooling. She was in 5th grade. And my younger daughter, Fiona, is almost 8. It's her birthday on Thursday. I'm so excited. But she's going into 3rd grade. So she was going into 2nd last year when we started homeschooling. And I think one of the hard things for me in taking on homeschooling was just a lot of fear about what if I can't, what if I don't do a good job? What if they get behind? What if they, aren't able to learn the things that they would have learned if they had been in public school? And I would say over this last year, my confidence in my ability to educate my own kids has really grown. But every time I got in that spot where I started worrying that they were going to get behind, I was not a good teacher or a good parent because I wasn't trusting my kids' own ability to learn. And I think if, as adults, I think my experience has been very much when I want to learn something, I will learn it. So I have learned how to open a retail store and run a POS system. I've learned how to build a website. I've learned how to use Instagram. I've learned how, I've learned anything that I've wanted to learn, how to make sourdough, kombucha, whatever it is that I'm interested in, I will learn it. And I think that that's what you'll see with your kids. If you're new to homeschooling, it's so scary. And I was one of those people who said I would never homeschool. I was like, I had a view of what homeschool was from people I knew when I was a kid, and I knew how independent of a person I am, and I like my autonomy, I like my alone time. I was like, why would I've literally spent all the years raising my kids so that they would go to school so I could have my life back. And yet homeschooling has been the most beautiful thing that I've probably done in all my years of parenting, because I have gotten to know my kids in the most special ways. Like, I've learned how they learn, and I realized how in a lot of ways they were falling through the cracks in the public school system. My older daughter, didn't know what an adjective or a verb was. Like, she, a noun, she couldn't say what that was, and she was in 5th grade. She admitted to me that she was just waiting till the teacher gave the answers in math. So she was way behind. I had no idea. So the homeschooling has been so cool. So for me, and this may apply to some of you who have older kids who have been in public school, I spent most of the year what they would call deschooling my kids, like getting them out of the testing and the fear and the worry about making mistakes or getting the right answer, all of that. And so our whole year was like constant adapting. And we talk about schedule, like the schedule changed. So don't be afraid. You may have a brilliant schedule and it works for a month, and then you're like, this schedule is a disaster. It's no longer working, So, we would usually, we start the morning with like, they have some expectations on themselves. And I think that that's really good, because on the weekends, we let them get up and watch TV. But like on the school days, it's like you get up, you do your chores, you get breakfast, you get dressed, like you kind of have like a routine that's expected in the morning. And I think that kind of helps them get going. Then we would do, for our family, we do like a Bible study to kind of start the day off. And then from there, we have, math and writing and things like that. And I would say whatever you plan for the day, just know it may not work out, and they may lose it. They may have a tantrum. But all I could think all year when those things were happening were, oh my gosh, they probably felt like this when they were at school and they couldn't do anything. Like, they were literally having a meltdown inside, and they couldn't share that with anyone. So every time that happened and I was like, I just need to send them back to school, this is horrible. Like, I just had to remind myself, like, I'm here for them. Like, I'm there when they're feeling like they can't do it, when before they would have never told me one, and they would have just like taken it inside, and then they would have had to somehow deal with that. So, so we did a lot of adapting. I thought it would be brilliant to unschool, and you'll find that maybe your style of schooling is different than your kids. So I thought unschooling would be fabulous. I'm like, we can just flow with the day and like see what happens. And my oldest is like the most scheduled, regimented person. So that was horrible for her. Like, she was not into that at all. She was like, as soon as I was like, at 8 o'clock, we will do this. At 8:15, we will do this. She's like, oh, this is amazing. So we had to kind of flow with that. And like, sometimes we did a stricter schedule, and then some days we would have like nature days, or some days were a total flop. Like, everybody melted down, and it was like, we're going on a walk around the neighborhood. We're looking for bugs. Like, we're doing, and, I think a couple people mentioned it. It's like, the cool thing about homeschooling is you get to learn with your kids and their interests. So don't get stuck in the books and like, they have to do this, and if they don't do this, they're going to be behind, and no one will be happy if you do that. So that's something I've really learned. And like Melody said, you don't need a ton of time. Like, I was having my kids we do Matthew C for our math. And I was having my kids do like, you have to do this section and blah, blah. And I realized like they had already learned something, and I was making them do page after page of stuff they already learned. And once they learn it, they can move to the next thing. They don't have to do busy work because there aren't 33 other kids in the class, So once they get a concept, you just let them move on to the next thing. Then with other stuff, you have to spend a long time, and you have to let them like not understand it, and finally get it, For me, as far as like the working, I think it was Candace who said like, this job that we have is like so brilliant for homeschooling, because it does allow us to do that. I used to own a store before this, and I don't think I could have ever owned my store and also homeschool, because I had to be there all the time, like with the customers, and with my employees and all of that. This is like something I can do with my kids. They will help me do stuff. I will teach them. In fact, I'm working on a new website right now, and I was showing them today, like, hey, here's how you move this stuff on the website. Like, look at this, and they were into it because my one daughter's like interested in coding. And so you can actually make it even part of the learning. Like, you can let them see how you work. And for me, having two girls, and I grew up in a home where my mom didn't work, and I always like kind of wish she worked and like wanted to have a career. It's been so cool for me to show my girls, this is how you can own your own business. Like, this is what you can do. And of course I have to do some stuff when they're not there as well, because I can't concentrate all the time. But sometimes I can bring them into it. And then other times I can really, just try to grind some stuff out. So for us, we do school in the morning, and then in the afternoons they do free reading, they go outside, like they have to do stuff on their own. My kids are older, but sometimes like once a week they go to my parents' house for a few hours. I'll hire a babysitter if I need to. And I'm a late night worker too. So sometimes I have to get in those late night hours, but I actually kind of love that. Like, I love being able to work when I want to work and I'm motivated to work. And then, even Saturday mornings when my husband's home, I'll say, hey, I have to work for 4 hours and then let's go to the beach or whatever. And everybody in my home knows that my job is a priority and that it provides a lot of the things that we're able to do. So my kids know, like, they're able to, get that extra thing for their room that they wanted, or, go to that class that they were really interested in because mom works, and she's able to make some extra money to pay for those things. So it's definitely a team effort for our family.
I think we had a question, Beth.
Yeah.
One said, curious, can you explain the reasons you decided to homeschool and pull them from public?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's so many reasons. I will try to keep it minimal, but I think for me, a couple things. One is I didn't feel like they were learning the things I really cared about in school. I felt like they were there all day and they came home with like not learning a lot of the things that were important to us. So like being out in nature, like they had all cement. In fact, they were not allowed to go on the grass at their school. It was like off limits. They weren't allowed to run. It was a rule that they implemented, no running. And things were taken away, like hula hoops, because if someone threw a hula hoop, then they all got taken away. So it was like that kind of stuff where it just felt like all of the beauty of childhood has like disappeared from their school. And I know that's not true of every public school, but it was very much true of their school. It was a large public school with 1,000 kids, and so many things were like, we just have to maintain, like, we have to keep everyone alive. So like, in order to keep people alive, we have to take away all of these things that really let kids flourish. So we've traded flourishing for like surviving. And that's very much how it felt for me. I had two very different kids. So one child who needed more attention and needed to move slower, who was always they're both bright kids, but they learn differently. So one of them would be in at lunch every day because she took her time like doing stuff, and that didn't fit the mold. So she was missing out on like lunchtime with her friends and stuff just so she could stay in and like finish projects. The other child was not being challenged and was really like, really struggled with any kind of correction because she was used to being like the best in the class. And I didn't feel like either of those things were good for my kids. So I think just the individual nature of homeschooling, like I just often felt like my kids were a number. And I recognize the privilege and like being able to bring my kids home and give them like the curated education that I'm able to give them. I feel so blessed. But it was just really hard for me to see that for all the kids at the school, that like, it was very much just kind of a military sort of experience of like, everybody has to be in their spot. And, so anyways, that was kind of our reasons.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Beth. And so I forgot to mention at the top of the session here, but we're going to send out a resource list after this to everybody who's on the call, including the recording of this. So if you're not taking notes or anything, don't worry about that. We're going to send that to an email. But I wanted to thank Beth specifically because her notes were incredible, and she listed tons of resources for us to be able to share with you all. And then a lot of us moms kind of added to that. So thank you, Beth, for all of that. Next, I just wanted to quickly go over, I'm going to share my screen. the difference between homeschooling and distance learning. So hold on just a second. Do you guys see the PowerPoint slide on the screen? Okay, cool. So I think with what happened over the spring where all the schools kind of shut down and went to a distance model, I think a lot of parents kind of said, well, now we're homeschooling, you know, and I kind of wanted to point out the differences. And you kind of heard a lot of the benefits of homeschooling so far, but I wanted to kind of point out the fact that now that, you know, the governor's kind of shut down in-person schooling coming up for the fall, we're going to be moving more into that distance learning once again. And again, that's different than homeschooling. So just to point out a couple of key differences that that you're going to see between the two. So homeschooling, we've already heard it from Candace, Melody, and Beth. Flexibility. It's fully parent directed in a lot of cases, unless you're sending, you know, your child to the school like Melody was doing, you know, sending her kids a couple days a week, but most of the time it's parent directed. The curriculum is tailored to each student, like Beth just mentioned, which is great. You know, she had 2 different kids learning different ways and she's able to tailor that. And you can school from anywhere. You know, Candace mentioned she got to school on an airplane or, you know, bring it on a vacation. So those are some really great benefits of homeschooling. Now, distance learning, there could be some flexibility too, but it's different from homeschooling, right? So it can be a flexible schedule depending on what grade your kid's in, what teacher they have, what school they're in, what program they're in. So there's going to be some flexibility as far as the times that you're going to be meeting. You know, distance learning is teacher directed, but the parent typically has to be pretty involved unless you have an older kid who's like really on top of it and can be very independent. The curriculum is going to be based on the entire class level. So, you know, if you have like a really advanced kid for their class or maybe a kid who's struggling, the curriculum is most probably going to be for the benefit of the majority, not the minority of the class. So that is going to be a part of that distance learning. You are going to be schooling at home, so that's kind of similar. It's not homeschooling, but it's schooling at home. And the teacher will oftentimes hold periodic live sessions. So like you'll log into Zoom just like this, or Google Meetings, or whatever, you know, platform you're going to be, you know, meeting on. And those Zoom meetings, and Diane can go into a little bit more detail because she would teach them a lot. Some of them are going to be live teaching lessons. Others are just going to be more for like socialization and making sure the teacher and students have FaceTime with one another, making sure the students see their friends from their class, maybe they're missing, or they want to see some social interaction that way. So it's a little bit different. So I just kind of want to point out there are differences between homeschooling and distance learning. So let me stop share here. So what I was going to talk about as far as distance learning as a parent this past spring, I have 3 kids. They're 6, 4, and 3, or sorry, 6, 4, and 8 months old almost. So I had a kindergartner, started in public school in the fall, just, you know, going along his school year. And then in March, everything was shut down. So we started distance learning from home. It was a big, you know, shock to his system because he loved school. He loved his teachers. He loved his friends. He's a great learner. I mean, he's a typical, you know, 6-year-old boy who's very energetic and busy. So that was like a huge learning curve for me because, you know, thinking of when I was back in school, it was like, okay, you sit at your desk and you learn all day long. Well, a kindergartner at home who's 6 years old just does not work that way at all. So it was an interesting experience for us. I know there's a lot of people who had some negative experiences with distance learning. I personally actually really liked it because I got to see what my kid was learning. I know everything that he knows and I know everything he doesn't know at this point. So as we're starting first grade, I kind of have a really good barometer of where he's at reading wise, what he can improve on, his spelling, his writing, his math. I kind of like that I know all of that, and now I can know what to ask for when he gets his first grade teacher in a few weeks. So for me, I think a lot of my advice to those of you who are maybe stepping into distance learning or just trying to start fresh because maybe you had a bad experience in the spring is the communication with the teacher. Now that you know where your student is at, or maybe you have multiple students that you know where they're at in different levels, don't be afraid to email the teacher, ask for more. If they're falling behind, maybe you're noticing that they're falling behind, maybe the majority of the class, ask for those resources, ask for an assignment that maybe can, I had a question in the beginning of, I noticed my son was reading at an okay pace, but I didn't think he was comprehending what he was reading. So I emailed the teacher and I said, hey, are there any tools out there for reading comprehension, kindergarten, first grade age? And she sent me specific assignments just for him. And I mean, that was huge for us because I did that in the very beginning and we were able to work that in constantly. So that would be my main advice for distance learning is, there's teachers that are stepping into distance learning that may not be great with technology. They've never taught an online class before. They've never utilized a Zoom meeting, a Google Meetup, anything like that. So we have to be patient, but they're teachers nonetheless, and they enjoy working with the students and giving advice. So if I had any, that would be my biggest tip. So if you're having like a middle school student or a high school student, that's going to be kind of hard because you're going to have 6 or 7 different teachers, but you're going to know the subjects that they're going to be struggling with. Just kind of keep an eye on that. Now, I know a lot of people that have to work during this. It's kind of hectic. So as much as you can stay in communication with as many of those teachers as you can, I think, that it's really beneficial for both you teaching and your student learning. So as an example schedule of what we did during distance learning, kind of like what Beth was saying was we had kind of a morning routine that kind of got us ready for the day. So we would wake up, have breakfast around the same time. We would get dressed. I noticed if we, let the kids stay in the pajamas all day, that attitude kind of trickled into the school day where it was like they wanted to go take a rest or something like that. So we got in school clothes and we had a really fun morning routine that we finally figured out was I needed to get their bodies moving right away. So I had a preschool age child and a kindergarten age child with a lot of energy. So we got our wiggles out right after breakfast. We'd either go run around outside in our backyard or I'd put on like a exercise kind of video, like Go Noodle has some really great kind of like PE apps, like if it was raining or something outside, or just have a dance party, anything to get them moving so that when I get them set down to learn, their energy's kind of out. We would always start with a morning question, and that kind of carried over from the kindergarten teacher. That's how they would start the day. So it would be something like super simple that she would ask everybody in the class. So it would be like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? Or where would you like to go on your dream vacation? Just something to get their minds thinking and us talking about it and getting us sitting down, focusing. My son also loved the pledge. So we got a little flag. We did the Pledge of Allegiance. And then we also did a gratitude journal right in the beginning. So it got him pen to paper, it got his mind going, and we talked about what he was thankful for, what he wanted to do that day, and we would draw a picture and label it at that point too. So it was a really great kindergarten activity for us to get started. And then on Mondays and Thursdays, we had a Google Meetup with his kindergarten class, and it was all social time, which I really liked. So the teacher just would have like a question, or she would ask the kids for the next week, like, hey, pick your favorite sea animal, do some research about it, and come back next week to the meetup and tell me everything you learned about the sea animal. So, she just would do some really great interactive things that way. Again, in kindergarten, it's just not a lot of pressure. There was no attendance, things like that. A lot of things in the spring were kind of like a pass-fail type situation. Moving into the fall, I think that's going to be changing. So it'll be interesting to see what the teachers do in that sense. I think it's going to be a little bit more formal because they've had time to plan. So after that, after we've had like our kind of morning time, we do a little bit of outside time, snack, and then right before lunch, I'd let them do a little bit of screen time. So we do like science videos, we do a coding app. We had a couple of different apps that our teacher provided, and I'll send that out in our resource list. But some of those apps are really helpful just to give me a break, maybe time to like take care of my other kids. Sometimes I could do some Doterra work in there. And then we'd have lunch, and we'd do reading time right after lunch. And then we would do chores and then outside play for the rest of the day. So it wasn't super structured. I tried to do the same time, just something that young ones can predict. They really like to be able to know what's coming next, or I even have to tell them a lot of times, like, hey, let's finish this up because next we're going to do this. And that was really helpful for them because they get that at school in their classroom, so they know the routines to expect. So yeah, that was kind of my experience with distance learning, for better or for worse. And I did a lot of my Doterra work at night just because the 3 kids during the day was a little bit crazy. Even though they napped sometimes, a lot of times I needed that for my personal break. So I do a lot of my Doterra work at night, and I schedule my classes on certain days of the week so that I know I always have something coming up for Doterra. And then if I don't finish things, I do it on the weekend. So yeah, that was my kind of distance learning experience. I know Diane, she wanted to talk next on actually teaching distance learning.
Hi, everybody. My name is Diane, and I live up here in the Bay Area with my husband and my 3 kids. I have an 8-year-old. She's going into 3rd grade, a 6-year-old that's going into 1st, and then an almost 4-year-old that's going to be in preschool for the first time in September, unless they don't open. So that's the plan. But I'm also a full-time middle school teacher, and I have been for about 14 years now. And I can confidently say that my 2 toughest years in teaching were my first year and this last year with distance learning. And I can tell you that no teacher loves distance learning. In fact, most of us hate it. It's not the ideal situation for us to be teaching our kids, but it's what we have to do right now. And so we make the best of it. And I'm really thankful to Cheryl when she spoke about the difference between homeschooling and distance learning, because distance learning is not homeschooling at all. And Melody mentioned, when you work with a kid one-on-one, you can get what they need to learn and teach them what they need to learn just in a short amount of time. But in distance learning, Cheryl's right. The teacher is teaching to the middle, not the top, not the bottom, but the middle. And so it's really not the same. But I do have to say that my school and a lot of schools out there are probably, there's a range of teachers, those that are really good at technology and those that can't figure out Zoom. And so that, who you get is who you get. Luckily, the teachers that my girls had were amazing. They had parties on Zoom, they had spirit weeks, they had breakout sessions. That's what I would do for my middle schoolers. We would have breakout sessions where they could socialize with each other in small groups. We had small reading groups on Zoom, more personalized attention. And so, with each teacher, it's going to be different. What I loved about distance learning was that I had extra time with my kids. So similar to what Beth had said, I really got to learn how they learned, what types of interests they had, what they didn't like, things that were difficult for them. I didn't know any of that. And I'm a teacher and I work at the school that they go to. And I see their teachers every single day. But I didn't know any of that, And so being at home with them, I really felt like I got to know them more. I made it a point to eat breakfast and lunch with them every single day, which I never did before. We would always have breakfast in the car, rushing to school because I'd have to get to school early for yard duty, and I wouldn't have lunch with them, so that time to me was really, really special. My daughter, when I asked her how she felt about the whole shelter in place and distance learning, she said, "Mom, I love it." I said, "Why?" And she said, "We're not rushing anymore. We're not rushing to school. We're not rushing to gymnastics," So those sorts of things were really special to me. And I really felt that my kids became way more independent during distance learning. They were able to make decisions about how they would learn, whether they wanted to, sit at a table or, sit on the floor or sit on the couch, whether they wanted to start with English first or wanted to do math first. and just like little things like that. So what really worked for us, because I was teaching a full day at the same time, and I have two school age kids. So what really worked for us was a schedule that was a time blocking schedule. So in the beginning, I tried to do like, first we're going to do English, then we're going to do reading, then we're going to do math, and that totally did not work at all. So I did instead 8 to 10, we had school. So they could choose what they could do first. They had Zooms during that time. We had an extended recess. At school, they would have recess from 10 to 10:15, but at home we did 10 to 10:30, 10 to 10:45, or if they were playing really good, I just let them play until they started fighting and then brought them back inside. And then after recess, we did a chunk of school again. Then we had lunch together for an hour and a half, playtime. And then after lunch, we did free choice, so art, PE, music, and all of those things. And my kids really learned how to be independent. So I ran my home similar to the way that I would run my classroom. It was like the only thing I knew how to do, right? Because if I ran it the way I did my home, like nothing would get done, and it would just be chaos. So as a teacher, you know, when you have 36 kids in your class, they can't be coming up to you every second asking you how to log into Google Classroom or their app or whatever, right? So I made a little booklet for both of my kids with all of the websites that they needed to use throughout the day. I had their username there and I had their password, and I taught them, okay, if you need to go on Seesaw right now, this is where you look, this is where you type it in, and then this is your password. And so my 5-year-old, she was 5 at the time, kindergarten, in 2 weeks, she learned to log into all of her websites on her own. She was not coming up to me asking questions. I taught my 7-year-old at the time how to check my email, how to go into my email, look for Mrs. Smith, click on it, and then find her daily schedule. From there, she read it, and then she wrote down the list of assignments she had to get done that day. And she was 7 at the time. But, you know, it took her a little bit, but that allowed me to have time to be with my students and work with them, because I also had a job to do. They learned how to log out of the internet and log back on. They learned how to pair their Bluetooth headphones. They learned how to even get their own snacks. We put a little Brita in the fridge so that my 3-year-old could get his own water, because he was like asking for water every 5 minutes during my Zooms. And so we put a Brita in there so he opened the fridge and do it himself. We put the cups at the bottom, you know, cupboard so he can grab them. We put all the snacks at the bottom of the pantry. I mean, they pretty much fed themselves the whole like distance learning time. For lunches, I pack them a lunch and put it in a little container. And when if my afternoon Zoom ran too long, then I would say, go to the fridge and get your lunch. And they would go and grab it and sit at the table and eat. And so just those little things, you know, really helped free up my time. Like, honestly, like if I had it my choice, I wouldn't have them be that independent. I mean, it was awesome, but that's just what I had to do to really survive me working from home at the same time. So the third thing that really helped us too was nap time. And I think Candace said that too. My preschooler, he naps, but I made my kindergartner at the time and my first grader nap also. A lot of times they didn't nap, but they still sat in their room and rested, read a book silently. You know, that really was key for me to have a break through my day, because it was just me 24/7, and I needed that break throughout the day. I had no help. And so I needed them to have that quiet time, and I needed to have my mommy break. And that's really what kind of helped me also do the business at home was the schedule that we had, the nap breaks. For me, doing the business at home, time blocking really worked. So I looked at my schedule. I blocked out all of the times that I needed to be at my full-time job and doing stuff at the house. And I looked at where I had free time. And honestly, the only times I had free were in the morning and at nighttime. And so I would wake up at 5 a.m. and work from 5 to 6:30 or 5 to 7. And at first I hated it, but I got used to it and I was able to get a lot done. And now I cherish that 5 a.m. hour because that's the only time in the day where I'm alone and where I could think to myself and have time for myself and my business. And then I decided to do the business at nighttime 2 days a week, Mondays and Wednesdays. So altogether, I found 18 hours in my week to work on Doterra. And, if I went into the week saying, you know what, I'm going to do Doterra this week when I have time, then it would never happen. It would really never, I would not have time at all because life happens, life gets in the way. So I had to be intentional about the time that I was putting in to Doterra. And if I scheduled it, then I was able to make it work. So that's all I
I have to say, if Diane can do all of that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to do more in my life right now. But yeah, it's pretty amazing. Diane and I met on Instagram, and she, asked about the business because eventually she wants to leave teaching and be at home with her kids and do all of that and have more time. But to see someone who has such a busy, full life, and then even add on quarantine life while teaching at home with kids. And during that time period, she rank advanced and completed a whole program in doTERRA for people who are top enrollers and helping their business grow. She just graduated from it this last month. It's just mind blowing. So, I mean, definitely when we talk about the business side, which we'll go into soon, sure I'll talk about, it's a business that you can do in the pockets of your life if you make it priority, right? Like she said, if you just let it happen, it's not going to happen, but you can have concentrated pockets. And if you prioritize those pockets, it really can create something for you that, Diane can finally get what she really is going to be working for in a couple years. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I was going to answer 2 questions, and then Cheryl, if you have anything. One person said, how do you balance teaching multiple children, 8, 10, and 13? I would say a couple things are independence, like Diane's saying. A lot of times with homeschooling too, they can do online, they can do classes, and they can do other meetups with friends. So I would say if you can get in a community where it's like your friend that's 8, your son that's 8 has some other friends, they can do schooling together, or the 13-year-old can go and do stuff that would help. Also, a lot of people who do multiple ages, I know, will teach on one, say, science subject, and then give the books or the paperwork or whatever, the projects that they need to do, age appropriate. So one younger kid might be writing, labeling the frog. The next one needs to, write a paragraph. The other one needs to write an essay on it. Like you could just gradually grow and figure out how to incorporate that for each of the ages. It's definitely a little workaround. I say if you have a little money or a little wiggle room on the budget to also hire help is something that I love doing. So that would be another thing I would suggest doing if it's able to do, and to space it out where it's like, okay, this time with this kid, I'm going to give concentrated time and energy while the other kids are reading books, having quiet time, doing outside. And then I do concentrated time with another kid. I feel like that concentrated time gets everyone a little bit more sane. And then Nancy wrote about cooking and cleaning, all that. One of the things I'm so passionate about having a business and creating more income is the flexibility of having more availability for help. Because, Beth will tell you a lot of times when I was talking with her about the business, she would say, oh my gosh, cleaning, I hate cleaning and overwhelming. And I said, Beth, hire a house cleaner. I said, that's my number one advice for you is, to have more business time to work on your doTERRA business. It's like, hire a house cleaner, like my sister, makes jewelry and, she wants, some more personal time. I'm like, Sarah, sell more jewelry. You can hire a babysitter. I'm all about empowering yourself. So definitely with creating more income, I do feel like gives you more power over your life to figure out when you can do the stuff you want to do, because I don't like cleaning or doing dishes. And I don't, and certain subjects I might not like doing. So I like putting in my concentrated effort maybe to build my business so I can get income in to help with those things that I don't necessarily want to do. Not that I never did them in my life. I just got to the point where I was sick of them and then worked my way out of it and made more money so I could pay someone else to do it. So that would maybe be my advice on that. But Cheryl, do you want to end with anything before I go into the business talk?
No, I think that was great advice. So thank you so much for all the moms who shared schedules and tips and tricks, because it's even so helpful for me. I'm learning from all of you. So thank you guys so much. So with that, Melody, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. So now we're going to go into the business portion. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. Let's see if I can keep it to 10 minutes. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try to talk really fast. Everybody knows I'm a fast talker, so we'll just go with it. We'll have a recording and we have notes and other resources. So afterwards, if you're like, Melody talked so fast, I'm so overwhelmed by it all, just connect with the person that sent you this, and I have a full 45-minute business talk that we can email you if you're more interested in doing doTERRA as a business or seeing how that could work. But from my story in a nutshell was, I thought my entire life I was gonna, be a bakery owner. First, I thought I was gonna be an elementary school teacher. That's what I went all the way through school in, and I worked at a couple schools, and then I decided to go to pastry school, and eventually I opened a bakery. So I worked out of my apartment kitchen, yada, yada, opened a bakery. And I've had that bakery for 10 years. So clearly I thought that would be my only job. At one point I had 2 bakeries, 40 employees, which is way too many employees for what I liked. But that was my dream, and I never, ever thought about anything else. But I got started with essential oils back when my daughter was 6 months old. I just was looking for something natural. I did not grow up in a natural home at all my entire life. I always joke that I had irritable bowel syndrome when I was 20 years old, which is so fun when you're dating, from having antibiotics 3 times in 1 year. So I definitely wasn't natural mindset. But because of those kind of things and having a child, I was like, why can't I have my Excedrin that I love so much, during my pregnancy? And my mind started shifting. So when I got my oil kit, I was obsessed with it and I couldn't stop blabbing about it. I was even sharing it on my bakery account. And people were like, why are you posting about these oils on your bakery account? And I'm like, I'm just loving them. And so everyone kept asking me about them. And the lady who helped me get my kit said, do you want to host a class? So I was like, yeah. And she's like, I'll give you a free diffuser. I was like, totally, I would love a free diffuser. So I hosted a class and everyone just ate it up and was like, I love this. And I think this does not happen often, but I'll preface it with that. But literally 10 to 15 people got kits that night. And I was like, oh my gosh. So it was just so fun. It was out of the pure love of something that I was really passionate about. I literally wasn't thinking I was making any money off of this except for getting my free diffuser. And I was trying to help my friends and family. But at the end of the night, the lady said, well, would you like to sign them up? Or, and then you could get income for them ordering, or do you want me to? And I had no clue that doTERRA was even a business model or anything. I just thought, I'm getting these oils, right? I didn't know anything about that kind of business model. I thought owning your own business was the best way to go. I thought owning my own bakery was going to give me time freedom and financial freedom. At that point, my Instagram was almost at 200,000 Instagram followers. I'd been on TV shows in every single magazine, done, stars galore cakes for. And so I was just feeling like I'm in this hamster wheel of insanity. And my friends were literally like, you're complaining. We're sort of getting over it, because I worked my butt off my first couple of years, working 90 hours a week, right? Thinking I'm going to create this business that will give me that time and financial freedom, especially once I had kids. But what happened was it didn't. And I felt so tethered to my business. I'm not saying all businesses are like this, but for most business owners that I talk to, that sort of is how it goes. And so I had, my daughter Blake, when I opened up my second bakery, and I literally felt like my life was owned by the bakery. Now, I wanted to be around her, so I took her everywhere with me at the bakery, and, wouldn't let someone babysit her. But, it was very overwhelming. Like, how am I going to do this with family life and then make an income? And I also wasn't feeling like all this effort, time, and energy that I'd put into this successful business that everyone thought was literally like I was making millions of dollars in a sense, on the outside. I was making good money, but for the amount of effort and for all the years I'd put into it, I did not feel like it was worth the effort at times. And so when she asked me if I wanted to, sell these kits, I was like, well, I like money, sure. And so that's what I did. And I never thought of it as a business, but I kept sharing it with people. People kept buying it, and I loved doing it. Now, I never said I was doing it as a business at all, but as you'll see, because of the business model of Doterra, which I'm going to show you in a second, it's so different than all other businesses. Even though I wasn't even really treating it like a business, I was sharing something I loved so much with just as many people as I could because I truly loved it. People loved the product and they kept ordering it. And so I kept getting income even for a year when I taught no classes, didn't really even sign anybody up. My income actually started to grow. Now that doesn't always happen, but people underneath me started to do the business even when I wasn't even encouraging them because they loved the product and they wanted to do it. And so at one point I literally was, thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm getting these random checks, for a decent amount of money. And the lady above me hit a rank that I knew was a lot of money. And I'm like, how is this lady making more money than I am when I know I've worked way harder, in my bakery business? And so that was about 5 years ago. I decided that even though everyone in my life thought I was crazy, because everyone already thought that I was like the most busiest person ever, that I was going to give Doterra my all. Because I went to one Doterra event and I looked around the room. I knew how much everyone was making. And for me, it was a monetary thing. And I wanted financial and time freedom. And I said, if they can do it, I can do it. And I really gave it my all. And within about, I think it was 9 months, it was under a year, I hit the rank of that lady that was above me that I was like, I can't believe she's making that much money. So that was my story in a nutshell. And now our community has grown to 11,000 customers are underneath me. We have about 700 people in our business builder group. I would say probably about 100 to 150 really do the business solidly. But the great thing about this, and then I'll go over the slides, is that you can pick what's right for you. If you want to make a couple $100s a month, if you just want to, help with a couple extracurricular activities for your child or pay for a babysitter, or if you really want to, switch over a career or income or bring a spouse home, the sky's the limit. So I'm going to go through some slides so you can get some visuals, some actual stats and numbers. That's my story in a nutshell. All of the people on our call, like I said, we all do this as a community or as a business together. While I go through the ranks, you'll see there's silvers, there's golds, platinums, diamond, all different ranks that I've shared tonight of how they do the business while doing homeschooling and or being with children. So it definitely can be done. Okay, so let me just pull over my slides. Oops. Okay, so, whoops, let me go. I was on the last slide, sorry, real quick. Okay, so the thing that sold me about the business was two things. First, when I decided I wanted to do the business, I was like, I absolutely don't want to put any money into a business. For me, opening my bakery, and for most people opening their own business, right, to get some kind of freedom, right, over their life, you have to invest a lot of money. So for me with the bakery, we've invested over $200,000, maybe $300,000. We opened 3 different bakeries within 3 years. Different buildings and remodels. It was a huge investment, right? And so I was like, I don't want to invest anything. I just want to start making some money. With Doterra, the cool thing is you can start the business with literally just buying a $35 wholesale membership. You actually don't even need to buy an oil kit, and you could actually sign someone up. So there is no big investment whatsoever in doing the business. And that's one of my favorite things about it. Anybody can do it. And I've seen that time and again with people that do it. So the other things I love is traditional versus network marketing or direct sales, however you want to say it. So with traditional employment, for most people, especially if you are an employee, you're trading your hours for dollars. Now for me, my hours are very valuable. I literally don't trade my hours for very many things now, because that time is very precious to me. I want to be doing what I want to do with my kids, with my friends, building my business. But in a regular job, literally for you to get paid, you're trading 8 to 10 hours a day of your time, right? Maybe even more if you're commuting, for a certain amount of paycheck, right? There's very limited advancements. I know Cheryl shares her story. She worked corporate, and she literally felt that cap of like, no matter what I do, I cannot get above it, right? Cheryl actually left her corporate job last year. It was a huge thing. We were so excited for her. That was one of her goals. She built her business while being in corporate America, and then left it to be able to be at home with her kids, working her business. You're also reliant on the employer's vision, not yourself. I started my own bakery business because I wanted to do what I wanted to do with my business, right? And grow it as fast as I wanted, come up with my ideas. That's why I also did Doterra. I love the flexibility within essential oils. You can be into fitness, you can be into skincare, you can be into, birthing and babies, you can be into immune support, you can be into, oh, I have Lyme disease, this is how I change it. There's so many different ways to change non-toxic lifestyle. There's really a lot of variety in making this business your own. I like cute roller bottles, so I do a lot of my things on cute roller bottles and packaging and things like that to sell it. I like doing online, and I do in person too. So there's flexibility in what works for you. In traditional employment, you need prerequisites, you need a lot of times costly education, and it gives you limited time freedom. You don't need any kind of prerequisite to help someone get started with oils, and you don't need any kind of like, I'm an essential oil expert. When I sold 15 kits my first night, I had literally just gotten my kit a couple weeks ago, but I was so into it and I loved it that I was like, yeah, you can use peppermint for this, and I liked lavender for this, and yeah, last night I used oregano. And that's all people want to know is with essential oils is, if I get this kit, will I use it, right? And if you're actually using it and loving it, that's how you share with somebody. No one is expecting you to be an expert at all. Actually, most of the time, if you're an expert, that overwhelms them because they think, I can't use essential oils. So most of the time, they just want authentic people telling them how they use oils in their life, and that you'll help them when they get their oils so they actually know how to use them. So with authentic network marketing, you get true lasting residual income. Like I said, even when I took a break in the beginning, I still was getting income, and I was shocked by that. My mind was blown. My husband and I would joke. I would send him pictures of my checks and be like, how did I get this check? I didn't even sign anybody up. But it's because those first year or whatever that I really did share a lot, even though in my mind I wasn't doing the business, I actually was doing it. A lot of people got it. And you'll see our retention rate is amazing in doTERRA. So unlimited reach and earning power for me, I'm a go all in person. Everybody is different. I have a lot of people too that go slow and steady, wins the race. That's amazing. You can do it however you want. But for me, I wanted to know if I wanted to make this certain amount of money, that if I put all in energy, I could do it. And I did do it. So for me, that was a big deal. Reliant on your own vision, no prerequisites, free education, and freedom to choose your own schedule. Again, for me, I had both kids at home and I had another business. And I literally would go work at the bakery and then teach a class after the bakery, right? And again, people looked at me like I was crazy. But now when I'm making multiple six figures, people aren't looking at me crazy anymore, because it really does work. And it's, there's multiple people that have done it. It's totally, doable for anybody. So why doTERRA? The largest essential oil company in the world, $1 billion company. We're working on our second $1 billion, part of a $1 trillion wellness industry. I love their integrity, their culture, what they go for. They're not trying to get you to win fancy cars or things like that. They're in it to help you get your debt away, to get residual income, to, if you have more time freedom. That are their true driving things. And that's so my heart. So I love that. They prioritize purity and potency over profit. Huge heart, great, with their farmers investing, all of that. I love their vision. I've met all of their owners. I actually just became a founder this last year and was one of the top 25 sellers in the entire company. So I literally know the heart of the company and have met with all of them. And every single time I meet with them or on different things, I'm more and more so thankful that I actually just said, why not? And I went for it. Like, that's one of my biggest blessings that's ever happened in my life. I should have been the one person that said, why? I just built this entire business. I have so much on my plate, but there was something inside of me that was like, no, this is not what I want my life to be like. I don't like it. It's not feeling aligned with my values and what I want. And I went for it, and it really has been a huge blessing. So what makes Doterra unique? 85% of those that join as customers just want to be customers. That's awesome. We're not trying to convert everyone to the business, right? We want customers that love the product. 15% wish to build a business, and 65% of those customers and builders order every 3 months. That is a huge retention rate. Most direct sale companies, 8%. So for me, I know if I can get a customer loving and using the oils, then now I have a customer for life. So I'm not having to go back to that same person and win them over. I'm not a salesy person. I always joke with people and tell them, when I had a bakery, I wouldn't go to people and say, hey, you want to buy a wedding cake? Come buy a wedding cake. Do you want a birthday cake? That's not me. What I like doing is educating, inspiring, helping people, gifting people cute freebies. That's what I want to do. I want to be the person that helps people and makes exciting answers to their questions, things like that. And that is what customers want. They don't want pushy salespeople. They want people who actually care for them and help them with their lives. And that's what I'm passionate about. And our community is definitely centered on that. We don't do any kind of pushiness with the business as well. If the business is for you, awesome. If you tried it and it's not, great that you tried it. And that's awesome that it's not for you. It's not for everyone, right? And we totally understand that. So untapped opportunity, 66% of the US has never used essential oils. So that is a ton of people, even in the US or California, that you feel like it's tapped. I'm telling you, some months I've signed up 40 people in a month. It's not tapped, right? Most all of my sales are here in the US, a lot here in California. So definitely people might know of essential oils, but they don't have someone who truly wants to help them. And when you can be that person for that someone, then that's how you get that customer for life. So again, real quick, why Doterra? Sourcing, purity and potency, huge product line, third-party testing, very big difference in the essential oil world. I could go on and on about that, but for time's sake, I will go a little faster. Not all MLMs are created equal. We have another girl who's one of my top leaders. She was in the top 50, I think I might have said it wrong. The top 50 in Beauty Counter at one point, and literally the compensation plan was just not there, right? She's like, I'm hitting walls. It's not, other top people had left. And I love Beauty Counter as a product. I use them all the time, and other MLMs too. It's just, you have to look at the compensation plan. Doterra's compensation plan is rock solid. They have not changed it. Most companies change their compensation plan a lot. It screws with everybody. They are not. It's a proven great compensation plan where it's more about long-term longevity in the business and making great income, not fast profit. So if you feel like within 1 month or two, you're going to make a huge amount of money, that's not what this business is. This business is creating a secure residual income. So for me personally, where I'm at, if I didn't do anything at all ever again throughout the month or anything, I would probably at least get around $18,000 a month, because I would easily hit diamond, which is one of our ranks, in the middle of the month without doing anything, not signing up, not anything. And that is a residual income. That's from people ordering every month, from a lot of people doing the business underneath me, and it just being there every month over and over again. Now, as I grow in my ranks and I try to reach a new one, yes, I need to get more customers if I want to hit that next rank and make that one, solid. That of course needs to happen. But for me, for how much effort I put in, that's my rank. Now, other people on my team, maybe now always they get $500 a month, no matter what, right? $2,000 a month. We all have different levels that we're at, but that's consistent income that we can count on. And that was awesome. Even if, say, you have a season of life, something bad happens, you're still getting that consistent income. For me, that's huge. So why an MLM or direct sales? In a sense, it's the most efficient way to build a pipeline. I'm going to give the cheesiest representation. I'm totally going over 10 minutes, but I'm going to say it because it's a good one. So if you think about, there's a man, with every single day would go up to the mountain, up to the well to get his water, bring it back down to the town. That was his job. That's how he made his income, right? That's how most people make their income. They go to a job, set amount of income, they walk up that mountain or drive to work and spend those 8 hours, they bring it back down, they make their income for the day. Well, another person decided, oh, I'm going to do that too. That looks like a good, solid job. They started doing it. Well, then he started getting competition, and he also was like, this is taking a long time. So what he started doing is, instead of him taking all of his hours throughout the day, every day going up to get the water, he started every day building a little piece of the pipeline. Now, forever, while he was building it, he got no income from that, right? He had to do his regular job to get income, but he built that pipeline, that thing that brought the water down. And eventually, one day, he turned the spigot on and the water came out. And then every other day after that, he did not have to go up to the well and spend 8 hours to go up there to get his water. Every day he woke up and he turned the spigot on and it came out. That's an analogy of how I feel like in my business now with, I'm saying, residual income. I put in a lot of effort, and it was a lot of effort. I don't try to act like it wasn't a lot of effort to hit the rank I'm at now. It was a lot of effort, but so was my bakery. And at my bakery, I was not getting residual income that was close to the kind of numbers that I am now. So for me, that is the biggest difference, and I absolutely love it. So it's a built-in business model. Like I said, no major investment. They do all the product sourcing, all the fulfillment, they ship it, the billing, the customer service, built-in educational system. I want to show you guys real quick. This is the kind of stuff we do for our community. This is not for every Doterra team, but right now we just finalized our essential oil website. So you can then plug your customer in and they can go to Oil Basics. So if you don't know all that goes on in Oil Basics, oh wait, whoops. I think this one's not updated, but all of these you can click on and it goes, oh, here it goes, to all the different things: natural cleaning resources, toxin-free ebook. Oh, let's learn about Purify, green cleaning, cooking and baking, ditch and switch webinar. We have it all added. You click on here, it gives you recipes, past webinars, everything. This is our website. We just finally created it. Then we have our private Facebook group, over 4,000 members in here. So this is something that you automatically get just for being within our community. We have all the cute roller bottles, the labels, all of those kind of things, the photos that you can use already. So you're not recreating the wheel, right? That's what we hate in this business, is we want to plug you in, teach you how to do it, and then as long as you put in the effort, it's going to be successful for you. So built-in education, extremely low overhead. I'm almost done. Again, a little bit on the hauling buckets, the last thing, right? Where are you in your current situation? Are you trading hours for dollars? Are you limited on advancement and earning, limited time feeding, and you're building other people's dreams? Or if you build a pipeline or do a residual income business, you're getting that residual income, no limits, freedom with your own schedule, building your own dreams. So you can see in a nutshell, these are some of the ranks in Doterra. Like I said, some of the people on the call tonight were at silver, rough monthly average. Once you've solidified it, that means you've hit it multiple months, not your first month of hitting it. You're roughly getting maybe around $2,000. That means you've helped 3 people hit the rank of elite, right? Then maybe gold, you're having helped 3 people hit premier. That's another thing I love about Doterra as a business. It is not a solo kind of thing. You are helping other people do the business as well. So when you come and do the business with us, we are highly invested in helping you become successful, because if you're successful, that's how we become successful. If it was a one-man show, it would be a completely different kind of business, right? That's not what it is. So for me to hit Blue Diamond every month, which is the rank I'm at, I need to have 5 people on my team hit gold that are enrolled to me, and the average pay is around $38,000. So you can see, depending on elite, you're making $365 a month, premier, $939. And again, some people might hit elite in 6 months. Some people might hit premier in 2 months. It really just depends on what you choose to do and the amount of effort you put in, but it's totally, the sky is the limit. You can grow as fast as you want in this kind of business. I won't go over the 4 income streams, but basically, you can get, income from your sales right away. You can get bonuses for helping people get on our monthly ordering system. And then you can get that unilevel, which is called our residual income, from all those customers that continue to order from you year after year. That's our residual income. Other MLMs, they pay you more money, it might seem at the very beginning, but down the road, you can have the same amount of customers and you might end up getting $12,000. Then with Doterra, you're making $32,000 a month. So these are different setups in how they do direct sales, and they make a huge difference if you actually stick with the company and you go big. So I could have put in the same amount of effort, and in other companies made $12,000 instead of $32,000 a month. So a huge difference once you stay. We have more info on the earnings. You can compare other network marketings and what their income is compared to Doterra in the different ranks that they're at. Other essential oil companies, for instance, you can see how for me to hit Blue Diamond, I could hit it just by having 7 overall sales. That's everyone on my team doing the business. To have someone in Young Living would be between Diamond and Crown Diamond. You'd have to have somewhere around like 500,000 in sales to hit that same amount of monetary money as Blue Diamond. So these are astronomical numbers that you would have to hit higher in other companies to receive the same amount of paycheck. So those are interesting. I am always transparent in my earnings, so I share that in my other one and show you how you can see in the beginning, I stayed and started jumping when I really took it seriously as a business. And then the 10-year plan, I've had some people that have done it for 4 years, and the first year they were at Elite, second year Premier, the third year Silver, and in 4 years, this is gold, and they hit 58,000. If you keep going at it, steady and stable wins the race, especially in this business, right? Not, I give it an effort, I stop for 3 months, I try a little bit for a week and do a class and I never do one again. That really isn't what this business is, and it probably wouldn't be worth your time. But if you want to be consistent with it, and of course we all have seasons where you have to take a little break, this is an amazing business model. So yeah, like we said, earn your products for free and make a little monthly income, supplement your income. These are all different ways you can do it within the business. There's no pressure in any kind of way to perform for us or any kind of thing. It's totally your business. You are the business owner, and we're just here to help you in any way to help your business be better. We have a business Facebook group as well with all of those resources, webinars, recipes, monthly promos, classes that we can help you teach, ebooks. We have retreats and things like that. So that in a nutshell is our business presentation. Like I said, we do have a longer one. We know we went a little bit over 20 minutes. If any of you guys have any questions about the business side of Doterra or about homeschooling still, I'm totally okay to stay on for a little bit longer. And I think, a lot of us are still on. So if any of you guys have any questions, you can unmute yourself or you can type in the sidebar and we'd love to answer anything for you guys.
Thanks, Mel. You did really well.
Yeah, and someone asked, what's the next step if you're interested? So whoever you contacted to get the link from, so say if Cheryl sent you the link or I did or Beth or whoever did, just contact that person if you DM'd them or emailed them or texted them, and we would love to give you the next step. You can watch our full business presentation, or if you're like, I know I want to do it, then we'll just jump on a phone call or a Zoom chat one-on-one with you and help you get plugged in, see where you're at, what you want to do, and then, yeah, we can really just go from there. But if you have anybody else interested, we will have the recording, like Cheryl said. We'll email that out to everyone with the resource link, so you can just share that recording with them. And we can answer any questions for you too as well. So yeah, I don't think there's any more questions, but yeah, this was all Cheryl's idea. So thank you so much, Cheryl. We really appreciate you putting this all together.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night, everybody.